Alright, this is my chemical peel project. Okay, so when we were learning about chemical peels, we first went over where they come from. Oh my gosh, they come from Egypt. They were used to rejuvenate the skin and make them look young and youthful and glowy. Cleopatra took baths in milk, which is lactic acid. Oftentimes it was beauty was associated, wealth was associated with beauty, and they tried their best and everything that they could to stay young in appearance. And so she bathed in milk, and that kept her glowy because of the lactic acid. So she looked quite young, quite dewy, you know? Alrighty. Okay, so nowadays we know why they help in different types of acid to make different peels and things and such. Like we have like glycolic, lactic, AHAs, and you get your salicylic, your tropic acids, that's your BHAs, and you get the polyhydroxy acids, that's your PHAs. We obviously have done a lot more testing, and we know what's actually going to help the skin instead of like burn it. There's different degrees. Like we've definitely evolved in the cosmetic world. It's always been a thing. Like it's generally been around for a long time, which is really cool. Like it's kind of got a long history. It's just been perfected over the years because we've gained a better understanding of technology and such. But nowadays we know why they help our skin and like all those different kinds of acids that make peels good for different kinds of skin types and all such things. Different like combinations are going to address different skin types, and when we get to different skin types, you have to think also about the Fitzpatrick ranges too, and how chemical peels are going to be affecting the skin uh, with the chemical peels coming in like into the zones or whatever. So as you can see here, I am really concerned more with your darker Fitzpatrick because they have more melanin and melanocytes in their skin, which the more active that they are in the skin, the easier they are to trigger hyperpigmentation. So like 1 to 3 ranges are going to be pretty safe. Obviously, skin to skin is going to be different sensations, so you're always going to want to start sensitive. But if someone walks in and they want to peel, but they haven't really done much with actives and things like that, like if they're on the lower side of the Fitzpatrick scale, maybe like yeah, that's something you could do like day of. But when it comes to those darker Fitzpatricks, you're going to be pre-treating and be very cautious when doing these chemical peels, especially when you get into the stronger peels. Obviously, there's something that you have to work up to. Otherwise, you can cause discoloration and hyperpigmentation in those darker Fitzpatricks. More like your 5, 6, maybe 4. But you just have to be careful because the melanogenesis process is much more active, and that can trigger that overproduction of melanin. So just be mindful in general because you could help treat it or you can make it worse. Other contraindications, obviously you got your pregnancy nursing. Don't ever want to touch someone who's pregnant. We don't know what's going to happen. Salicylic has been seen to make or create birth defects. So obviously just far away from acids as you can. Open lesions, that's self-explanatory. You don't want to hurt a wound or spread any of the bacteria that could be on your skin into it, or just that could cause scarring and things and such. Also cold sores or anything that was like been untreated recently. It's an infection. It's like it's your mouth herpes. You got to be careful. You don't want to spread it across the face. You don't want to get it like anywhere else because that could cause major problems. Obviously, you don't want them to be recently waxed. That can make their you don't want them to be recently waxed or waxed after, because their skin's going to be a little bit sensitive, and also, yeah, their skin's going to be sensitive, so you don't want to be like putting chemicals on it, and then you're going to get like irritation and inflammation. You could even get swelling. You never know what's going to happen. You just want to stay away from that. Also, if they're autoimmune compromised, that's self-explanatory too. You don't want to get those diseases just in case they have a reaction. Their immune system is compromised. They're not going to have the same like wound healing response and things and such. You just got to be careful. Also, food allergies, different types of acids derived from different types of fruits or different origins and such. So, got to be careful there. And then blood thinners and aspirin and stuff like that, especially allergens to like aspirins, because BHAs like salicylic, those are going to be your blood thinners too, like your natural blood thinners like the willow bark. Also, blood thinners aren't good because your skin's already thin, and like you already have that sensitivity, and it's just not going to go well. Also, rosacea is on that list too. I didn't put it down, but that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. Okay. So we're just gonna leave that there. Chemical peels vary in effect at different levels and different depths. So they affect the skin at different depths. The skin, uh, got those layers, and the deeper the peel, obviously the more it's gonna do, but also the more dangerous it gets. The very first, which is gonna be like your enzyme treatments, that's like the very superficial like peel. That's only going to be the stratum corneum, like barely, like the very, very top layer of the stratum corneum. That's like eating away, like just like dead skin cells that are already like kind of there. And then you move on to the second, which is going to be your superficial peels. That's where we work in as estheticians. That's our scope of practice. That's where we stop. It's the stratum corneum, and that's kind of it. Can't go farther than that. Otherwise, it's a danger zone. And then you get into the third level. That's your medium depth. That's going to be your physicians and such. From that point on, it goes into the epidermis, a little bit of the papillary dermis. That's your orange you got on screen there. And then you have your lowest level, which would be deep peels, and that's going to go all the way down into your dermis, almost down to like the basal layer a little bit, or the hypodermis almost, but not quite. It's getting down to that like hair shaft area. It stops right before the bulb, give or take. This is a diagram, so take that a little bit lightly. And then we'll talk about this in a moment. But so when you think about skin types for different chemical peels, the chemical peel that I chose was a salicylic acid peel. So oily and acne prone and combination. Those skin types are good for BHA, more specifically a salicylic acid, because it's oil soluble, and that helps with acne blemishes in closed and open comedones. Like I mentioned earlier, benefits of chemical peels include minimizing texture and those acne blemishes, as well as those comedones. It gets into those pores, hydrates, and just kind of flushes it out a little bit. But also helps with hyperpigmentation, fine lines, firmness, and brightness of the skin over time, especially with repeated treatments as needed and safely. The chemical exfoliant just helps that dead skin and make way for that new rejuvenated skin. When you perform a chemical peel, you have to understand like the impact of the acids and like how the molecular size and percentage of strength of the acid is going to penetrate the skin and such. So when you think about your AHAs, those are your medium-sized molecules. See, so you got your BHAs, you got your AHAs, and you got your PHAs. PHAs take a long time to absorb into the skin. They're good for sensitive skin and things like that. BHAs are the smallest. That's good for your dry, oily. They're oil soluble. And then your AHAs, those are some of your stronger ones, but like there's a lot of them. They're a lot more common. like your glycolic and your lactic. So AHAs and PHAs, they're gonna go, and they're gonna work from the they're gonna work from the bottom up. They're going to go into the skin and really stimulate that cell turnover and cell renewal, and it also it'll come up and shed that layer of the skin and things like that. So we'll get back to that in a moment. But yeah, the stronger the percentage of a chemical peel, obviously, the deeper it's going to go, the more effect it's going to have. Too strong of a chemical peel could go past the scope of an esthetician and damage the skin if you're not careful. Obviously, that's what a physician's going to be dealing with. They know what to do, know how to handle things like that. BHAs, they're going to be the smallest. They have an easier time getting into the cells. They're more disruptive than polyhydroxy acid. So they work from the top to the bottom, shedding the outer layer first, and then it's going to help thin out the stratum corneum, which is the opposite of an AHA. An AHA is going to be thickening that dermis. And you got your polyhydroxy acid. Obviously, it's going to be going into going down into the bottom and then pulling things up to the top, shedding that top layer of the skin. And it's slow, which makes it great for sensitive skin. Because it takes longer to penetrate. It also disrupts the cell less than an AHA or a BHA would. It's just slower than an AHA. Kind of the same thing, which is really cool. And then when you're treating a client, you gotta take in general precautions. My client over here, oh look at her, the sad little blemishes, and she's like, oh. So this is my girl, this is my client. You're gonna be taking general precautions, obviously. You're going to do pre-treatment acids at home, stopping 3 days before, starting again 3 days after treatment. You just want to have a conversation with your client to make sure they understand what's going on in the procedure, and also so they know what to expect and how to take care of their skin at home. Making sure they are gentle with their skin for the next 3 to 5 days, making sure they're wearing their SPF to protect their skin because it's going to be a little bit more sensitive to the sun and things like that. Obviously keeping it hydrated because it's going to be dry, but making sure they don't scratch or rub or peel because that could also damage their skin. And when it comes to the higher Fitzpatrick's, making sure that they're doing topicals at home so that they can build up the strength to those peels, because hyperpigmentation, you gotta be real careful with that. All right, so this is my client here. She's having issues with oiliness and grade 1 acne. She's just a little bit persistent, and she's wanting to work on that and also even out her texture. She sometimes gets pretty good blackheads, and she used to have worse acne, but she's been using salicylic at home, ferulic acid also, just so that she can work on the texture, but she wants a deeper treatment, which is why we're doing the chemical peel today. So the only allergy that she has is amoxicillin, which is just like an antibiotic, and that should be okay. She stopped taking her acids, like the salicylic, 3 days before, because she'd had a similar treatment, but she'd only ever had a enzyme before this. I explained to her how it's going to feel. We talk about how it's going to be tingly, and if it's anything more, if it feels more active on her skin, that we can neutralize and only do as many layers as we get to. As we get our treatment, I ask how she's ask about her home care routine and how she applies her topicals, which she informs me that she uses them every other night, kind of in turn. And then we chat minimally as I cleanse and degrease, and then I apply a barrier around the sensitive areas. I do the little cross-hatching, the little application, and it's self-neutralizing, so I don't do any of that extra step. I just kind of move on there. I do some red light therapy because she was having issues with a little bit of an acne breakout, so we were trying to get that down. We discuss how exfoliation is going to be really helpful with that texture, but also how she should be maybe using more more of a brightening serum, because she's been noticing lately that she's been a little bit dull, and hopefully this chemical peel will help with that, but also to be more routinely manual exfoliating when she isn't getting treatments and such. And then she's going to resume her actives in 3 days, and then I'll meet with her again in 4 to 6 weeks, or 2 weeks if she wanted an enzyme treatment. I explain that she's going to be peeling a bit, but not to pull or scratch. She feels good, and we end her treatment. I send her on her way with post-care kit and a paper for post-treatment. Okay. Do's and don'ts. So, yippee! That was my chemical peel project. Yeah. Thank you for listening. Mm-mm-mm.